Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to my channel. It's Stitch of the Week time and this week's stitch is stitch number 122. It's a simple single crochet V-stitch. It's a TV watching stitch. It's so simple that this is what I like to work on when I'm watching TV. It's a one row repeat. You're going to do your base row and then you're going to repeat row 2 for the pattern. Super quick, super easy, and just a fun pattern to do. Now this stitch pattern is a multiple of 3 plus 2. So you would chain 3 again, keep chaining and multiples of 3, and when you get your project to the width you want, then you add 2 more chains. So this is my first sample. I have 3 samples to show you. Now this one I worked using the Ice Yarns Picasso in Rainbow. Just a beautiful yarn. It works up super simple. Love to work with this yarn, and look how pretty this sample is. That's the front, and when you turn it over, that's the back. So it looks the same on the back as it does the front. So that's my first sample. So my next sample, I'm going to keep it right over the multicolor so you can see it. This is just the basic white. Now with this stitch pattern, I do a finishing row so it has almost a straight edge. So this way, if you're putting a border on, you don't have that little bit of a peak from that shell stitch or V-stitch. So it's just a beautiful pattern, and the classic white is just wonderful if you want something classic for your home, just a simple accent. Maybe you want to make a wedding afghan, June's coming up, and you want something simple but something that's going to look elegant. This is a wonderful pattern for just something colorful or something classic. So that's my second sample, and this sample I just used the Premier Basics. I love their yarns, just a basic affordable yarn. So that is the second sample. Now my third sample, I used the Red Heart Super Saver, and I don't have the label for this. I'm not sure what the color of this was, but it's their older version of the pink, and it just has a really pretty color. Now you're not seeing all that gradient effect because it's a small sample, but the gradient, these ombre yarns are gorgeous when you use a simple pattern, and it goes from the light to the medium to the dark. It just creates a beautiful look, and you can see down here I had a little bit of that light, and then it got into the medium and started getting into the dark. But this is what that pattern looks like in my third sample. So that is the front, and when you turn it over, that's the back. So let's go ahead and get started for today's video. I'm just going to go ahead and use my Red Heart Super Saver ombre, and I'm going to be using a size 10J or 6mm hook. So grab your yarn, grab your hook, and let's see how easy this stitch pattern is to do. I have my yarn attached to my hook, and now we're going to do our beginning chain. We're just making a sample swatch, so we're going to chain 17. That is the multiple of 3 times 5, and then we're going to add 2. So you're going to yarn over your hook, pull through the loop on your hook, and this creates your first chain. The loop on your hook does not count as a chain. That's 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. That is our 3 chains times 5, and now we're going to add 2 more chains, 16 and 17. So total, you should have a total of 17 chains. So now we're ready to begin row 1. Now I want to remind everyone all my crochet tutorials are filmed using USA crochet terms. We're going to skip this first chain, and we're going to work a half double crochet into the second chain from hook. You're going to yarn over the hook, skip that first chain, insert into the second chain. You're going to yarn over, pull through that chain. You have 3 loops. yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. We are starting our row with a half double crochet. Now we're going to switch and work our single crochet V-stitches. So we're going to begin the repeat now. We're going to skip the next 2 chains, 1, 2, insert into the next chain, work a single crochet. Yarn over, pull back through that chain. You have 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That's how you make a single crochet. You're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. You're going to single crochet back into that same chain. When you look at your work, you're going to have a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet all into that same chain. And that is the end of the repeat. Let's do the repeat again. You're going to skip the next 2 chains, into the next chain, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain. Your single crochet V-stitch is made, and that is the end of the repeat. Let's do it again. You're going to skip the next 2 chain, insert into the next chain, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain. And that is the end of the repeat. And again, when you look at your work, you're going to have a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, all into that same chain. So let's do the repeat again. Skip the next 2 chain, insert into the next chain, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain. And that is the end of the repeat. So if you're working on a wider project, then go ahead and continue, and you're going to skip 2 chains and then single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the next chain, and you're going to repeat that across until you have 3 chains remaining. So now to finish row 1, we're going to skip the next 2 chains and we're going to work a half double crochet into the last stitch. So remember, when you're working this pattern, you're only working the half double crochet to start and end the row. Yarn over the hook, insert into the very last chain, and work a half double crochet. And row 1 is finished. Now if you're new to crocheting, you might want to put a stitch marker right into the top of that last stitch, so when you turn your work, you're going to know that is the first stitch that you go into. Then you want to come back and make sure that when you look at your work, you put a stitch marker into that first half double crochet we made. So when you're working back across the row, you're going to know where the last stitch is to work. Very important when you're new to crocheting to put those stitch markers in the first and last stitch of each row. And then as you work the pattern, move those stitch markers up. So now we're ready to begin row 2, which row 2 will be our repeat row. To work row 2, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. The beginning chain 1 does not count as a stitch. I'm going to work a half double crochet into that very first stitch. You're going to yarn over, you're skipping the chain 1, you're inserting under the top 2 loops of that first half double crochet stitch. You're going to yarn over, pull back through, you have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Now you want to move your stitch marker up to the top of this stitch. Very important when you're new to crocheting to really help you with your beginning and ending of the row. So now we're going to work in the chain 2 spaces of each V-stitch. Go to your next V-stitch, insert under the chain 2 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain 2 space. And all we're doing is working a single crochet V-stitch in the center of the V-stitch below. Let's do it again. Go to your next V-stitch. You're going to insert under the chain 2 space right into the center of that stitch, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain 2 space. And that is the end of the repeat. Let's do it again. Go to your next V-stitch. You're going to insert right into the center under the chain 2 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain 2 space. And that is the end of the repeat. And you're going to continue working in the center of each V-stitch across to your last half double crochet stitch. Let's do it again. Go to your next V-stitch, insert into the chain 2 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain 2 space. I'm over to the end of the row. I worked in my last single crochet V-stitch. Now you're going to have 1 single crochet from that V-stitch and your ending half double crochet. We're going to end the row by working a half double crochet into the top of this ending stitch. So you're on the wrong side of your work. You may have trouble figuring out where your stitch is. That's why it's important to have those stitch markers. So turn your work towards you. You're going to yarn over. You're going to go under those top 2 loops of that last stitch, work a half double crochet. And that is the end of row 2. So now to continue working the pattern, you're just going to repeat row 2 over and over again. So let's go ahead and do it one more time together. Again, we're repeating row 2. We're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. You're going to skip the beginning chain 1 and work a half double crochet into the top of that first stitch. And then you want to move your stitch marker up to the top of that stitch. Now we're going to work our single crochet V-stitch into the chain 2 space of each V-stitch across to the last stitch. Find your next V-stitch, insert into the chain 2 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain 2 space. Go to your next V-stitch, insert under the chain 2 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain 2 space. Let's do it again. Go to your next V-stitch, insert into the chain 2 space, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain 2 space. We have one more V-stitch to go. Insert into the chain 2 space right into the center of that V-stitch, work a single crochet, chain 2, and then single crochet back into that same chain 2 space. So I just worked in my last single crochet V-stitch. You're going to have 1 single crochet left from that V-stitch and your ending stitch. So make sure, because it's a half double crochet, you're not going in these 2 loops. That's the wrong 2 loops. You have to make sure that you're turning your work and coming to the front and going under these top 2 loops. And that's why it's important to have your stitch marker, so you're not going over here or you're not going in these 2, but you're going into these 2 stitches. So yarn over, turn your work, go in under the top 2 loops of that last stitch, and then yarn over, pull through that stitch. You have 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. And again, you're just going to repeat that over and over until you get your project to the length you want. And then when you get your pattern to the length you want, you can do the finishing row. And it's up to you whether you want to put the finishing row on your project. To do the finishing row, you're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn your work. You're going to skip the beginning chain 1 and we're going to work 2 half double crochets into that first stitch. That's 1 half double crochet, yarn over, insert back into that stitch, work a second half double crochet all into that first stitch. Now we're going to work 3 single crochet into the chain 2 space of each V-stitch across to the last stitch. Insert into the chain 2 space of that next V-stitch, work 3 single crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Go to your next V-stitch, insert into the chain 2 space, work 3 single crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Insert into the next chain 2 space, work 3 single crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Insert into the next chain 2 space of the next V-stitch, work 3 single crochet. 1, 2, and 3. You'll have 2 stitches remaining, a single crochet of the last V-stitch and your ending stitch. Now remember, you need to turn your work to see the top of that stitch. We're going to end the row by working 2 half double crochet into the last stitch. You're going to yarn over, turn your work, and go under the top 2 loops, and you should have a stitch marker into that stitch. Work 2 half double crochets. That's 1 and 2. And that is the end of the finishing row. And when you look at your work, you can see it just helps add that straight edge to the last row. So that's how easy it is to do the single crochet V-stitch. And remember, all kinds of possibilities, whether you're using a gradient yarn, whether you want to use a classic white for something just beautiful and elegant, or if you just want something a little more bright and colorful. So thank you everybody for stopping by today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the crochet fun here on Creative Grandma's channel. So until next time, happy crocheting everyone.